How's it been since our last meeting?
Oh, it's been pretty busy. I'm running two companies.
Yeah.
The handyman has been good. We are booking appointments.
Okay.
And the property management has been okay as well. I've been picking up homes, although I still have room to pick up about 60 more by the end of the year, so that is my goal. We'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
And I'm happy we closed on the big house in Sandia Park. So
Yeah, I know, that was huge. So everyone talks about slow market, right? And so hearing that amongst a lot of the other chatter that I'm hearing as well, which is a lot of the, oh, well, we're gonna wait until we buy. It's not a good time just to wait. I mean, you hear it, you see the online stuff, the social media stuff. There's many of these, say, mortgage and real estate gurus out there that are like, go now. Why wait? We can always refinance if
Yes.
you're concerned about rate. When rates drop, competition grows significantly, prices grow. I mean, look what happened in 21 and 20.
Yeah, we're just gonna see a repeat of that if people are waiting to buy. And now, in Albuquerque, I'm looking every day at the inventory. It's been going up, slowly but surely.
Right.
It's been going up for the past few months, and we are going into the slower season. November, December is the time where usually in the past properties were staying longer on the market.
Yeah.
If you're a buyer, now is the time to go out there, get pre-approved and get looking.
Yeah.
Because I think the busy season is over. Hopefully you're not gonna have multiple offers, but even so, if you have the right contract, the right terms within your contract and you know how to put it together, you should not have any issues getting those deals
Yeah.
for your clients, in my opinion.
I think that as an industry, we're still gonna always hold on to the things that we've learned, right? I mean, as the lender side, I saw realtors being extremely creative, and I thought it was rather exciting to see all your brains working and how to do this, and buyer paying seller costs or seller paying buy down points for a buyer. I mean, these are all creative things that, it's not the first time, but I think that's really gonna help us predict what's gonna happen next too, because I've read a few articles, I've done my little bit of reading here and there, and goodness, I've seen stuff that talks about those that bought in those 2020, 21 window, right? Because the cost of the home was still fairly inexpensive, rates were phenomenally low, people's first time home buys, right? Their first home were traditionally not really first home type properties, right? We're talking 4 or 5 bedroom homes, sitting on an acre of land with lush, right, trees, grass, whatever. Now in a heightened economic position, people are finding it a little hard to maintain. The inventory, like you're saying, on the increases are gonna continue to grow. And we come into that kind of perfect window, but I still really promote buy now, refinance later. Dave Ramsey, if I can say his name, right, was one of the guys that would always promote date the rate and marry the house. So it's a big push. We're really trying to push that right now.
Yeah, and I know that the market is changing because, as you said, sellers are paying buyers points down, which is something that it has not happened in the past few years. Buyers should not be scared anymore to go out there and put in an offer. We see properties sitting on the market 60, 90 days, and secret, even if the houses are overpriced, which a lot of times the sellers do that, right? Because they
Blood,
are
sweat,
used
and tears mean value.
The appraisal is the last word.
Yeah.
We see offers on these houses that were sitting on the market, and then appraisal doesn't come in, and the buyers are even more happy because they get a better deal. Like we just had not a long time ago a house like that.
That's right. We
had to drop.
personally, we got consistency on our deals, and so we see a lot of things. But yes, exactly, a little bit, I guess, overpriced, if you will, based on the opinion of our appraisers. But who better to give that than the professional who lives and breathes that, right? If anybody knows value, it's the guys who do value each and every day, which we trust wholeheartedly as well.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm actually super excited to see the inventory side, because obviously that's going to really kick up the dust on our buyer side. I'm probably sitting on 13 to 15 pre-qualifications right now. again, people who has followed my advice, because it's better now to determine qualification, right? Our numbers, making sure we're shopping in the right area, super important for you as a realtor too, because your time is money, it's valuable.
Exactly.
And if we're not in the right purchase range, well, I mean, that's a little bit of a waste, in all fairness. But with the pre-qualifications we have, we're gonna start to see that push. However, again, you know, it's the advice of non-real estate professionals that keeps getting out there. Oh, wait it out, wait till the rates drop. Well, I think we've all seen the numbers, right? A 400K house, a 500K house, a 500K house with a 5% rate, right? Still, say, $2,500 a month, principal and interest.
Yeah.
The 400K with the 7%, still $2,500, right?
Yeah.
Principal and interest. So when it boils down to it, I mean, we're waiting to compete.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's no competition.
Exactly.
And why not strike while it's, you know, quiet and good?
I had a success story with that. When I purchased my first home, we got it about 6.5% interest.
How long ago was that, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
think it was in 2014.
Okay, so really not that long ago,
Not
less
that
than
long.
10 years.
Yes, and after the first 2 years in the house, we started receiving mail from mortgage companies. Oh, the interest rates are going down. The interest rates are going down. You should refinance. Now it's 5%. Now it's 4%. And by the time we refinanced, we got a 3% rate.
Yeah,
So we cut the mortgage life in half.
yeah.
Actually.
That, and yeah, if you're accustomed to a payment, I'm a big preacher when it comes to budget, right? Comfort zone, you know, clients, you guys as my partners, you know, you hear me say that all the time. And yeah, I mean, if you were to buy in a market like today, which we all are waving our magic 8 ball, right? Is rates going to drop anytime soon? And it's probably maybe, but when that does happen, because it will happen, folks, we're looking at shorter turn times. People are going to be able to double down on their payments, keeping budget the same, right? That comfort zone. And now all of a sudden, everyone's taking on equity again, you know? And it's not just market overpricing that's creating the equity. It's actually the reverse, but still highly profitable.
Having a mortgage and paying your own house is still better than paying somebody else's mortgage.
Always.
Like, I'm in the rental industry and I'm trying to educate my tenants every single time. Like, if you are gonna stick around in Albuquerque, right, for 2 to 5 years, buy.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the prime examples are military
Yes.
people. They have that concept down. I manage so many properties for military. They come in, they are here for the assignment, they buy the house
Mm-hmm.
because they have certain incentives from the government for it, and then they keep it as an investment. And then they move to the next city and they buy a house in that city and they keep that as an investment.
Residual income.
And they can travel afterwards. They can pick
Right.
whatever, you know, if they have 10 bases in 20 years of service, then they're able to pick where they want to live. They saw all those places,
Right.
and when they retire, they can sell the houses, they can do whatever they want.
Think
So-
about it. Retirement through our US government military, right? On top of possible liquidation of asset, which real estate wise is, I mean, hundreds of thousands, right? To turn around and go live in a place where you've already experienced, you visited, you've lived, you breathed it in, right?
Mhm.
I mean, what a perfect setup to be able to enjoy the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And with just proper education and advice and commitment from us, right, the real estate expert side, to them saying, you know what, it's highly unstatistical that you will be in this house forever, right? The statistic will say you're gonna sell this house or you'll rent it out and you'll start that, say, real estate portfolio.
Yeah.
And you'll grow financially,
Yes.
exponentially financially.
I think we can take this opportunity in our hands because we have all this information from our parents and our
Mhm.
grandparents, how they did it and how we can make it different. Because, and I'm sure it's similar to you, when I buy real estate, I think about my children.
100%.
So that equity that I build in my homes, it's not really for me, it's for,
No.
for my retirement a little bit.
Right.
But it's mostly for them to be able to, one, teach them how to handle money, and two, to be able to offer them an opportunity to grow and see how it's done.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing is that you don't have to do 10 years of college experience, right? You don't have to go into debt really to find this financial release in years. Sure, debt in the sense of the mortgage, but guess what? That's the investment back to you, that equity build. Or again, you start building that real estate portfolio, you got 2-3 rentals, right? Obviously, as a rental manager, you talk to owners and they're like, it's great. I'm not paying this mortgage anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just receiving all the benefit of the equity that's building because we are on anywhere between a 3 to 5% housing increase currently this year. So that's 3 to 5% value increase when you as the landlord or the owner of the property aren't even making a single dollar or placing a single dollar towards that actual monthly payment, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if somebody were to come off you the street and say, hey, I would like to pay your bills for you and you just live.
You know, the best advice I can give first-time home buyers, and it's probably not going to be the same one that you would give, like, you know, single or somebody that doesn't already have a big family, if you can, buy a fourplex. Live in one of the apartments
That's a great idea.
and start there.
Yeah.
And then after 2 years, buy a house.
Well, you know what? If someone buys a fourplex, right, and they live in a unit, we as a lender side will treat that as a primary residence. On a, say, FHA, right, typical, we can actually utilize the rent from the other, say, 2-3 units, depending on how many. Again, 4 is the max for it not to be, you know, kind of categorized in the next stage. But now those 3 units who create the extra income is now the money they use for their current total mortgage payment. And it's surprising how people really just end up creating that wash again, and they just live so much more comfortably.
Yes.
You know, they still have a payment, but it's being paid for, and they're there, boots on the ground, eyes on site all the time. So it's easy to control and maintain.
Yeah. A lot of the times we see that people that live in those fourplexes, they manage it. You know, if the
Mhm.
owner lives in there, they usually manage it
Right.
because it's easier. And I think that is the first step that, let's say, somebody that just wants to move out from their parents' house should do if they have credit. Because
Imagine I mean, there's a ton, I would only assume I can't. It's been many years since I really hung out around UNM, right? But, I mean, I remember a lot of the homes got turned into multi-units. The multi-units themselves, you know, I mean, that's a great thought process for a young adult who, you know, mom and dad might help out, because remember, these are primary homes now.
Mhm.
So there are gift assistances allowed,
Yeah.
you know? Unfortunately, first-time home buying doesn't work on multi-units because there is an income generation type of property, but that doesn't mean we can't get creative, right? Like we're talking about, utilizing the rents received to offset,
Yeah.
and that way these kids aren't working 3 full-time jobs and trying to commit to a full schedule,
And
trying to do
college,
something
who
better for
knows?
themselves.
Yeah. No.
And then goodness, that just leapfrogs them into a primary single-family residence down the road, that
Yeah.
rental capacity, and by being their own manager, would only give them an exponential amount of knowledge. Talk about trends. What if we were able to create a real estate trend like that?
That would be cool. I would
Young
be all
buyers
for it.
getting smart, doing what they need to do.
People have to
and-
build more fourplexes then.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's the only
Well,
thing.
I feel like Albuquerque is a little landlocked, but everywhere I turn, I'm seeing buildings going up. Like there's I think a new apartment complex over here, brand new hotel over here. I don't know the name of it, but I heard through the grapevine that it's gonna have this amazing like rooftop experience like Chaco over in Old Town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's right here. So Laura, do you know where we're gonna start doing our videos?
Ooh,
Rooftop.
the rooftop. I'm all for it.
Right?
Yeah.
You get something to eat, hang out, be able to view the city a little bit bigger. So
Yeah.
people need to say jump off the sidelines. We need players, right? We need them to
Do?
come in, take advantage of the marketplace. Again, I stress, come on in. The water is warm, right? Jump in, cannonball it if you will, because you will be able to find those reduced payments, those reduced rates, just as everyone else will, except for you already now have that collateral. You're in the home, you're there, outside of having to fight tooth and nail to find the one you really want, because everyone you find already has an offer.
Or 3 or 10.
How many times did you take someone out to view a house They took a little bit of time, same afternoon, they made the phone call back to you, and you had to break the news. Sorry, an offer was just accepted. I
Yeah.
think that was pretty common.
That was common in 2020, 2021, and even beginning of 2022.
Yeah.
So, but it's much better now, you know. And you said that you have so many pre-approved buyers.
Yeah.
So what can they lose if they actually start looking?
Nothing.
Nothing. I
Nothing.
mean, there's no money
You
out
know
of their
what?
pocket if they start looking.
I'm going to go old school on you and say knowledge is power, okay? There used to be an old television show on Channel 5 that really pushed that, you know, hey, get smart, read books, you know what I mean? And I always kind of gravitate to that, and I use that kind of nerdy, you know, euphemism there, that knowledge is power, because yes, knowing what you can qualify today and being prepared. Because like we were talking earlier, right, where there is inventory out there. Maybe some of the stuff isn't necessarily on Zillow, where we tend to gravitate to. We tend to go to Realtor.com, Zillow, these places. Oh, let's see what's on the market. That's only a portion,
Oh yeah.
right? There are so many, and that goes back to you as a realtor too, to finding that expert realtor, because, you know, it's how, oh, the inventory is low. I don't know what I can find for you in your price range. Oh, we got you. We'll figure it out. Let's get aggressive.
Yeah, because
You
we
know?
have all the coming soon listings in our MLS. So what
Yeah.
I do, I always set up my clients on a drip system, right? So we kind of walk through their needs at once in a home, we
Mhm.
put them on a search, and anytime something like that pops up, even if it's incoming soon, they get an email about it, and then we can talk about scheduling and prepping for that showing and
Yeah.
what is the game plan is going to be for the particular house if they really love it.
I think it would be awesome, honestly, to be able to find a property before everyone else sees it, the non-pre-qualified buyers, or what we used to call tire kickers, the looky-loos, right? And then say, hey, you know what? That's the one. I can tell you, you know? Just by I'm assuming there's photos with it coming soon, maybe just
Sometimes.
an address, something, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, goodness, what I see out of that would actually be a huge potential of time elimination, right? You avoid the crowd, right, when it comes to the offer side of things. And, I mean, that's a one-on-one service when it comes down to it.
They have been, even I had at one point a house on the market that we just put it in coming soon, and we got an offer. It was off market because in coming soon it's not on market.
Mm-hmm.
We got an offer and it got accepted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, personally, just because I've dove into this side of real estate before too, I know that there was a lot of homes that have been picked up that maybe needed a little TLC, you know, and, you know, I've spoke to many other investors as well. They're like, yeah, we got stuff coming, you know? So going back to the inventory talk, bouncing that off of why wait, buy now theories, right? Getting our potential buyers to put in a little bit of time. I mean, it takes, I would guess, on average 5 to 10 minutes to fill out a mortgage application. It takes me 24 hours or less to give it a fair evaluation and for me to respond and say, hey, look, we're good. This is the dollar amount you're good for, you know? As long as everything matches off the application, look, we can go shopping tomorrow, right? And that's gonna create that, hey, you know what's better to be prepared? Because if you have it and don't need it because you can't find that perfect house, zero risk,
Yeah,
right?
zero risk. You get a credit pool, but that's about it. Which you can make those points up in 6 months.
Yeah, well, so credit's I explain it like this. Credit is a monster that you've got to feed to make happy, right? You got to use credit to have credit, right? A lot of folks, old school, well, I don't have, I pay everything cash, I should be really good. I'm like, love the idea, however, it just doesn't work that way, right?
Fortunately. I learned it the hard way too.
Yeah. Right, credit is not designed to be just negatively impacted based on looking at it. I'd say that there are certain financial avenues, right, where there's excessive pulls, right, and those are more the stigma of if you pull my credit, you're gonna hurt it, because there could be 10 to say even 30 credit pulls depending on your purchase.
Yeah.
Whereas a lender, mortgage-wise, we are the bank. We're not looking for financing for you. We are the financing. And all we're doing is going through a vetting process to say, hey, you got good credit. Let's move on to the next subject, got good income. Let's look at the next subject. You got good assets. Hey, you're a buyer. I really stressed to everyone that, it's worth looking. Your credit isn't gonna be negatively impacted unless you have some, say, I know I'm probably using the wrong term here, but some algorithm of credit pulls or credit card usage or something like that that then could create a, say, bump in the scoring process. But like you said, people generally earn their points back relatively quick.
Is there anything that you can self-evaluate that will check in your head that you can do that before you put in the mortgage application?
Absolutely. What I would suggest is one, looking at income. Okay, we look at a 2-year employment history, right? That's kind of like the baseline. Not that you have to be on the same job for 2 years. That's one of those funny little things that people tend to cross lines on, right? So what we do is look at the 2-year history. So as long as you can provide a 2-year history, that's really good. Okay. As far as the income calculation, we use before Uncle Sam and all of the taxes, withdrawals, the 401k withdrawals, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're an hourly employee and you were working a consistent 40 hours every single week, then you can take your hourly rate, times it by 40, right? Times that, because it's 40 hours a week, by 52 weeks out of the year, and divide that into the 12 months. That'll give you your total gross earnings for the year. Because our paychecks will also show that, but only up to the year to date. So we like to use what future income is predicted, right?
Yeah.
We can't use the past income because incomes change,
Yes.
right? However, if you do not work a regular 40, it does make it a little bit more difficult because it's called variable income. Some weeks it's 35, some weeks it's 40. Then we have to dive into the averaging system of hours. And that's where I step in and I can really help our clients with that. However, looking at their income, dividing it down the middle, 50% is their total gross income amount that, as a lender, we can use for their current obligated payments and debts, plus the new mortgage, right? So if we're easy, we got a $500 auto payment and a $100 credit card, we know that we're at $600 today before the mortgage. And say our mortgage is $2,000. Well, as long as we're $2,600 or more at a half, 50% of our gross income, then you would qualify for that, say, $2,000 monthly mortgage payment. Credit scores, 620 is really kind of that baseline.
It's the magic number?
It is. There are programs out there. I mean, we all seen the articles. I mean, FHA can go as low as 500. But to give a little, we have to give, to get a little, we got to give a little, right? So whenever we see those lower credit scores, people are faced with larger down payments. They're also faced with higher interest rates. It's a balance, right?
Yeah.
What I call the teeter-totter effect, So if you got a 620 and you can calculate your income, then, you can really kind of self-determine purchase windows. Now, of course, calculating interest on X amount of dollars on a house, my suggestion always is go online. There's mortgage calculators everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're relatively, really close to being exact. There's always a little bit of movement.
Yeah, well, it's tricky, mortgage calculators, because they only include the monthly payment, a lot of them. They don't include the mortgage insurance, the taxes, the interest, a lot of times they don't include it. So just make sure you get the right mortgage calculator.
Yeah, the safe way, right? So the old school, and I mentioned that a couple times already in our conversation today, but is a lot of times people have the 30% rule, right? Is keeping yourself at 30%. That's a very safe place to be for any adjustments, right? Albuquerque, for example, from the Heights down to the West Side, there's a big jump in property taxes between those two. Right? Those mortgage calculators will not include taxes because that's just a general calculator that's online. From New York to LA, it's the same calculator. They have no way to predict taxes.
Do you have a mortgage calculator on your website? Do you guys offer
I actually do.
these?
I have a site that actually has access to those things, and it's something I do offer my clients. However, one that I do also suggest, if I'm out and about talking to somebody on a quick, like, here, do this, it's Carl's Mortgage Calculator, but it's Carl with a K.
Okay.
It does a great breakdown, it does pie charts, it does terms, and that way you can see amortization schedules, and it's pretty consistently like close to being exact.